What is up, party people? Welcome back to your all-inclusive, most comprehensive, best detailed, craziest 2v2 Resto Druid guide you've ever seen in your life, because who the heck even makes 2v2 content anymore? Just me, apparently. So we're going deep into the Resto Druid, the most complicated but yet rewarding 2v2 spec in the game. You can feel like an absolute god, a legend in the arena if you can master these elements. Alright, so we are going to be a little bit longer video because I want to cover both the balanced playstyle and the feral playstyle. Okay, there's two different ways you can completely play this class. And I'm going to have timestamps, so feel free to skip around for all this stuff. We're going to go over the build, the stats first, the talent, and then for each section, do a talent build, go over some general gameplay, and then some gameplay footage with some commentary over it just to understand what's going on inside the games. All right, so let's get a rolling here. So first off here, we do have the stat build. So I play verse, all verse, as much verse as possible, and then as much haste as possible. Mark, why don't you have any mastery? That's how you heal. Yeah, I know. But the way the pacing of twos right now is I don't feel the need to have it for the sake of what I'm doing, okay? If I was pushing rating, I would probably dial back the haste a little bit and go a little bit more verse. I'm currently in PvP, I am currently at 37.7 haste, 30 verse, only 8.5 mastery. So maybe I would have dialed this back to like 30 haste and put the rest in mastery. I do think you don't need as full mastery as possible for playing like this. Up to you though, okay? For all intents and purposes, I'm playing haste verse, just to give you the example. Play as much mastery as you like, dial back maybe a little bit from both to put more mastery if that is more your style. You're gonna feel the burn in terms of how much less healing you do, so try to gauge it to your best interest. My thoughts behind doing full haste verse was the gameplay was rather slow in twos, and by just being able to gather a lot more momentum off of doing a lot of damage seemed more meaningful to me, so I was just pumping more damage, aka haste verse. So it's been working for me. We'll see how things go going forward, but that's what we're working with. So I do have the verse only engineering helm. I do not have the tier set here. That was mostly because I didn't get it out of the vault, so I would probably get the tier set. That would give you a little bit more mastery as well. But I do have the verse helm. I do have the 4 set on this guy, so I have everything. I mean, honestly, the chest is not even that bad, but I'm losing a little bit of haste by playing this and mastery. When it comes to gems, all verse haste gems, and enchants, all the speed chants. Kind of it, right? Embellishment wise, I am playing the element of focusing lens. It typically is doing, so y'all know. And I noticed that if you're not playing super aggressive, you don't get this kind of feedback on here, but it's doing around usually 3 to 5% on give or take on my damage. So pretty nice little bonus damage, because the embellishments kind of suck anyway, even like if you're playing the healing ones. And then the weapon enchant, I am playing Authority of Radiant Power. Pretty dang good. I just started playing it recently. So it does a little bit of damage. I did 2% of my damage, and it had, in this game here, 30% uptime of 1500 intellect. So up to you. You can still play the Mastery or Haste ones. I was just trying out the Radiant Power just to give me a little more damage. I don't know which one's the best or not. So maybe that's what I'm going with right now, because that's what the PvEers use. All right. So that is it in terms of the gear. Just haste verse, man. I mean, plain and simple. I'll just do a quick scan over it. You can pause on one of these if you need to pause them. All right. And then that is it in terms of the setup there. Okay, so let's get into the first build here. We got the feral build. All right. There is definitely some flex points here. Let me clarify that. I do not play this exact build every game. I do swap stuff around, and I'm going to show you where you can swap stuff around if you want a little bit more defensiveness or you just want to go balls to the walls damage. All right, up to you. So clearly we're going to go Wild Stalker here. One change that I did make to Wild Stalker is typically in 3s and Solo Shuffle you are playing Resilient Flourishing, which makes that your Symbiotic Blooms a little bit longer, 2 seconds longer, because the longer they're up, the more percentage healing they take. Okay, because Symbiotic Bloom gives you more healing received. So that is what you would normally play in healing. In this build, I am playing Root Network. So it's just for every Bloodseeker Vine, I get 2% damage. Symbiotic Bloom, 2% healing. So it's not as much healing. It's still, still a healing buff. It's not a total damage sink or a total healing loss, but I do a little bit more damage with it. And again, I'm just kind of ripping off a lot of this stuff, as you'll know, if you do PvE, is from Mythic Plus, because they sim the highest damage. So Gotta learn from them, right? And then obviously just, you know, you do more damage and healing while in cat form. Symbiotic Blooms is going to be your main heal from this, and the throughput from this is substantially better if you're not already seeing my other guides. Wildstalker, I think, is the go-to for whatever you're doing. I think it's just the most healing. Just a couple notes to know from this tree to be aware of is when you do attack from Prowl, you get an 8% crit chance right off the rip. So that's really nice for your Convokes. So just something to know when you do cast Come Out of Stealth. So if you need to get a re-stealth before you go for that Convoke, you'll get an extra 8% crit chance to potentially get more crits. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about, so obviously we have a little bit extra damage, and if you don't already know, every time you Swiftman, you cast a Symbiotic Bloom. Really important just for general knowledge. You want to be Swiftmanning on cooldown. All right, that is it in terms of Wildstalker. Let's go over to the class tree here. So I'm just going to talk about some highlights. I'm not going to talk about every single talent. That would take forever. But some things that you might see that are a little different than people typically play. Okay, so obviously I'm going to be playing Grievous Wounds. In terms of my damage breakdown, this is typically my damage breakdown that we're looking at, just to show you why I choose these talents. Rip is typically my top damage, and this is a 6-minute game, so this is what over time, maybe some shorter games will be different, but Rip is up there. Shred, usually Rip, Shred, and Rake and Star Surge are all rather close. Bite is next, depending, and this will be as big as depending on how well you can set up Convokes. These are just strictly Convoke bites. All of my combo points were used for rips, not bites. And then Moonfire, and then, you know, the subsequent stuff there. So that is why I'm focusing mostly on bleeds here, okay? Because just for whatever reason, I mean, not for whatever reason, it was broken in Mythic Plus, so they pretty severely nerfed Bite compared to last season. My bites are doing about the same damage, maybe give or take 5 to 8% more this season than last, and that's saying a lot because we have twice as big health pools. So don't focus on biting, all right? And that's why Convoke is slightly weaker than it was. Okay, going back to here. So obviously I'm sticking Star Surge with the Starlight Conduit. This is a extra, okay? Yes, it can do a lot of damage in here, but if you are just starting out and learning this cat weaving or whatever you want to call it, it's going to make it a little bit more complicated for you. So maybe you can drop these for some defensive talents that I'm going to show you. But if you are comfortable with it, this is something to get going, all right? But if you're not using it every 6 seconds on cooldown, you can even drop Starlight Conduit, maybe just keep Star Surge, kind of like feel it out as you're going. Okay. Killer Instinct is something that I did not need to take, but I did take. It is 6% bonus physical damage. I actually ended up swapping it off of Instincts of the Claw because Versus Bite is, like I said, not very strong. You could certainly play this, but just getting 8% damage on just Bite versus getting 1 point on this is 3% damage on everything. I was like, oh, might as well just play that, right? So I'm playing this. Some of the defensive talents that you're noticing I'm not taking, and sometimes I do take them, okay? I want to just clarify that. If I am versing a comp that I know I'm going to get trained and beat the F up with, you can drop these 2 points. You can go into, I have Natural Cover, Well-Honed Instincts. You can even take, you know, Verdant Heart is something I've been taking, but I don't always take it. And you can just kind of swap those around where you need to. But in general, this is what I am playing. I am not playing Well-Honed Instincts. I just did not feel the need to have this stuff, okay? If you feel like you are dying, please play those talents. Okay, it's just going to become with the comfort thing and maybe the MMR you're playing and all that kind of, or more of the composition. So like anytime versing a hunter, I may struggle with this stuff. If I'm playing higher rated games, I may swap out some of this damage stuff for some more defensiveness. But generally, this is what I'm playing. I do take Typhoon and Vortex because there's just so many clutch moments. I don't know how you ever play without Typhoon. It is such a large range now. I mean, you have the 25-yard range. It's a second interrupt. I have kick and interrupt, and I have stuns, and I have meld. Like, I can just be so elusive in terms of getting CC'd or preventing big damage. So that is why I always play it. And there's just obviously maps you can clutch this for really nice kills or CC chains. And then Vortex or Root, I do play a little bit of both. Typically when I'm playing the cat form stuff, I do Vortex because I can Vortex people behind a pillar to get a Convoke off on them. But I think in general, Mass Entanglement's probably a better pick as just like an overall pick. There are some nuances and cool things you can do with it. You know, I said this is the most comprehensive, in-depth guide. Let me just show you really quick. So with Vortex, might as well just talking about it now. You know what? I'm going to hold this. I'm going to hold this because I'm going to... Nah, fuck it. I already mentioned it. Okay, so with the Vortex, this circle the middle of the circle will show you where it will pull them. If they are in any sort of the edge of this circle, they will get pulled to the center. So I know this is not a perfect pillar here, but typically they are perfect, you know, square rectangular pillars. So if I were to put the middle here, and let's say the person is standing here, I could actually, so as they're running away, it could pull them back, right? I'm in range here, I would have the buff, it would pull them back, and then I stun them behind the pillar, get the convoke. So that's how I typically use it. There are some cases on Dalaran, both Dalaran sewers, as well as the new map, that you can actually vortex people down. Okay, so if like they're in the middle of that new map, you can put the vortex, again, wherever the center is where they get pulled. You can put the center on the bottom with the edge up top. Somebody walks by, they get pulled down. You can root them down there, stun them down there, take them out of the game. So just a little quick tip on vortex, but I think in general, Master Tangle is probably an easier option for you. Moving right along here, so fluid form. I want to talk about fluid form real quick because that is something that I just picked up recently and I'm trying to still get better at it. I think fluid form in terms of the BOOMY build, as I'll talk later on, is pretty self-explanatory, but for fluid form for cat form is a little bit nuanced, and it definitely takes some practice with, because I'm personally not a fan of it because it requires me at least to make an extra keybind that was not necessary. I don't think they thought this through, to be honest. So the way fluid form works is obviously it saves you a global cooldown if you are playing in and you press shred, rake, or skull bash. Obviously skull bash is the main use for this, but if you are playing in, you can shred or rake to just instantly shift you without saving that global of shifting into cat form. Okay, I don't think this is necessary. If you're just starting out, do not play this. It's going to make it a little bit too complicated. I mean, you can use it to get to kick, but trying to use it to shift. So, because what I had to do was just I tried macros, man. I was burning out fucking chat GPT trying to make a macro, and I could not get something that would be universal to save myself a keybind. But I do have an extra keybind that is shred. Because typically the way I keybind at least is I press cat form, and then like, so one on my mouse is rejuve. If I press cat form and then I press 1, now it's shred. So I had to make a separate bind, unfortunately, but now I do have that there, so I can press that and it'll instantly go into cat form and shred at the same time. So it just saves you a global there. Yes, it's something to get used to. A little bit complicated, but you know, if we are trying to min-max damage, it is probably the go-to. So if something is you are used to, maybe Mythic Plus or something like that, you can go down that route. But most often, it's going to be used for interrupt. Having that off GCD interrupt is just really, really clutch. So that is the main reason for it. But you can do it for damage as well. Coming down to the middle here, obviously we want physical damage in this build, and then Heart of the Wild mandatory. Got to do the big damn. Okay, so that is it for that side of the tree. Over here on this side, this is going to be consistent with both builds. Actually, that's a complete lie. I'll tell you why. It's a switch different. So up here, one thing I did, again, I'm just going to go over the stuff that's a little bit different. I am playing the big NS. I don't have a lot of mastery, so I want that big chunky NS, and I don't feel the need to NS all the time because I have such great hot uptime with Forest Guardian. Okay, down here, I do play Wild Synthesis still. You could play Renewing Surge. I just feel like in 2s you didn't really need it that much. This is just Purge Protection. If you're versing comps, I don't feel like swapping it every game, but if you really want to min-max it, if you are playing something that doesn't have purges, you don't need to play this talent. You could, you know, take, I don't know, Tranquil Mind, Renewing Surge, short cooldown Trank, the Trank Dream State to get quick convokes off. You can do any of that kind of stuff on there. So kind of up to you. But on the bottom half here, so this is where it's going to be kind of solid for this build, is you obviously have to have a lock-in of Shapeshifter. That gives you damage and infinite mana. Convoke with the short Convoke. If you are not comfortable playing Convoke, you could certainly play Incarn, Tree of Life, but I think it's not that complicated anymore. They have fixed a lot of things in terms of Convoke to be able to get them off easier with not every single ability hitting pets. So just to clarify, if y'all don't know, Convoke still does hit pets, but it won't hit pets on your primary spells. I don't know why they just didn't do everything. It's kind of ridiculous, but it is what it is. So like your Bites and your Star Surges won't hit pets, but your Shreds, your Rakes, your Moonfires, your Wraths, Thrashes, that stuff will hit pets. So it's not you are definitely losing damage if you Convoke with pets around. Not a substantial, I mean, maybe, I think for Resto it kind of is substantial because your Shreds are pretty strong. But just so you know, if you are versing pet classes and this is just not up your alley, you know, go Tree Form and spam Wrath. You can do a pretty nice chunk of damage and you'll do good healing at it. So if that's up your alley, you can do that. Obviously, Elder Druid, we are playing around this, getting those combo points, extra bonus damage. And then on this side here, I think Germination is just so good for playing like this because your hot uptime is just so phenomenal. So I'm playing down. I didn't take Forest Flow because again, I just don't feel the need for it. And this is just more hot extension. The more hot extension we have, the longer we can stay in cat form, the better the momentum can roll, right? So Germination there, and then Photosynthesis obviously lock in for your 4-piece, and then double life them. All right. PvP talents for this build going to be Forest Guardian, which is just basically why all of this works. So when you're pressing those combo point generating spells, you're extending your hots, and then when you use your combo point spenders, and just note it doesn't matter what amount of combo points. So you can do a 1-point rip and get the bonus healing. So just something to think about. If maybe like you get like locked out for 4 seconds from a warlock, you could actually like go in cat form, swipe once, and then like rip a pet or bite a pet, and you can get some bonus healing off of that. So pretty cool little nuance. And then something else to know is because not everybody knows this, with Forest Guardian, when you have hots up, you could actually just go into cat form and swipe air and extend your hots. So if you are kicked, this is something you can do. You can go behind a pillar and just swipe some air while you're waiting for a reset maybe, or just because you have nothing else to do. So just a note that you can do that. Also, I guess on that note, you can actually swipe through. I'm going to talk about the abilities here in a second. Holy smokes, this is going to be a long video. All right, let's keep moving. So that is it for that. High winds, just auto lock in, longer range on Cyclone, just super clutch. Tireless Pursuit, one of the best abilities in the game in terms of mobility. So if you do not already have one, you should, I highly recommend having a cancel form macro. It's just /cancel form, one word. What that does is you can shift in, shift out, and have your Tireless Pursuit. So I'm constantly doing, you ever watch me play, I'm always moving like a freaking NASCAR. It's because I'm just doing that constantly. I'm in cat form doing things, I shift out, I go bear form, shift out, you know, I'm getting trained, shift out, or travel form shift, and you can also use it to get away from people around pillars. So using that just to shift the slow and then go around. For people to say that doesn't do anything, yes it does. You can shift in, it doesn't do anything for shifting into the, but you can also shift out of the roots faster to get around a corner and whip it. Okay, because if I'm just spamming cat form, right, I can't shift out very quick. I can shift, it is still on global, but if you notice when I do this, I shift in, shift out. So I can actually shift 2 slows and in a faster, shift 2 slows faster than shifting 2 slows otherwise. Okay. All right, that is it for the build on there. So the general gameplay, let me just cover a couple things here. So you need to know how these combo point abilities work to get the best out of them. All right. So we're gonna talk about your energy cost first. So energy cost is important to know because depending on how you're playing, whether you're playing for damage or there's maybe moments where you just need a stun as fast as possible, you're gonna want to use the least amount of energy possible. So rake and swipe are 35 energy. Shred is 40 energy. Just know that. So if you are trying to get as combo points as fast as possible, rakes and swipes are better. Swipe is even better because you can also swipe into CC, like an ice block or a cyclone or something like that. But if you are just trying to get combo points as fast as possible, shredding is not the best option. Shred does do a lot of damage though, so kind of weigh your options there if you do feel like you're better off shredding, okay? Also, do note rake does more damage from stealth. So if you get more re-stealths, rake will do 60% more. I think it's only 40 or something like that in PvP. I don't think it actually shows here, but it's like nerfed in PvP for whatever reason. That literally makes no sense. But anyway, I digress. And then Maim. Okay, we definitely gotta talk about Maim. Maim is one of the best stuns in the game. It is better than Kidney Shot. It's a 20-second cooldown, 5-second stun. Get these going, man. When you are playing, as I'm going to talk about later on with the roles, if you are playing with casters, you better be getting these stuns on cooldown, man. You are a sub-rogue in a healer's body, all right? So just note that, you know, trying to get these on cooldown are just going to completely change the game for your 2v2 experience. I promise you, if you are doing these every 20 seconds, especially if you're playing with a class that doesn't have a lot of stuns. Some tips on combo point generation, like I talked about before, is the swiping. You can swipe into clones. Another one is utilizing Heart of the Wild. Okay, so if I have Heart of the Wild, let's say I go in and I open here. If I am in cat form, let's say I go behind the pillar here, I can actually just stay behind the pillar and get combo points. Okay, so don't forget that. Also, if you're a wild stalker, you do have Nature's Cure, which will give you combo points for just dispelling. That is the purpose why I have this weak core up here. If you are curious and you want this, it's called Fever HUD. Combo points. So right here, just Google this, you'll find it. You can do it. You're a big boy / girl. Yeah, I don't need to give you a link for everything. Sorry, I have to get links on that like every day. But yes, so dispelling, just to know when I have combo points up, go cat form. You know, you can go in, maim one, bash the other, meld stun the other, third one. You can get a triple stun, be on your merry way. And obviously you don't even need to triple stun in twos. So just getting double stuns all the time, get restelts, go in, rake one, maim the other, clone the healer, and then just go. So much cool stuff you can do with that. So just remind you for combo point generation in terms of Heart of the Wild and then your dispels. Make sure you are dispelling when you can. All right. I think that's it for the abilities. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the damage rotation here. So the damage rotation itself, priority is going to be Rake into Rips. Okay, that is going to be your biggest damage source. After that, Star Surge, and then Moonfire. Okay, Star Surge is going to give you a better benefit from Moonfire. If you look at the, I can't see the tooltip here. Hold on, let me get the tooltip out. So Moonfire, just so you know, it does 58k instant damage with an extra 471. So about what, that's 520 or something like that. Star Surge is doing, my count, about 500k. Okay, so Star Surge is basically doing your entire 20-second Moonfire instantly. So you want to prioritize doing Star Surge over that. Also, obviously, it also impacts Force Guardian. So priority is going to be getting combo points. So getting combo points, you do not always have to do a 5 combo point rip. You know, if you want a 3, just because you want to get bleeds out quick. So maybe I just might want to do a couple here, and then I'll go for another one over here, and then I can pop out here, Star Surge, maybe throw some Moonfires up on my targets. And then throw out maybe a heal. Let's see, I throw up some heals. And then I'm gonna go back in, fluid form, shred, get back to raking everything, get my rakes up, and then start getting the shreds back up as well. Okay, maybe I just wanna throw one combo point in there. Star Surge, refresh the Moonfires. Throw in my Swiftmen. Make sure you want to, like I just talked about, you want to Swiftmen as much as possible. Keep those symbiotic blooms up. Go back in, maybe start doing some more damage again. Get the rakes going, get a rip out. So that is the general damage gameplay, damage rotation, okay? So priority rakes first. Rakes first, if you want to just pump damage and you don't feel like you need to get a rip as fast as possible, you can just shred for those extra, or if you do want to swipe, it's up to you. But that is general rotation in terms of the damage, as you'll see. And then when when you do need stuns, you should be prioritizing maim over the rip. Okay, sometimes I might do a very short cooldown, a short combo point rip, and then I'm gonna go for the stun. So maybe I'll do like a 1 or 2 point rip. More like probably like 1 is usually pretty short, but like a 2 or 3 into a rip, and then go for the combo points for the maim after that. Okay. Yeah, burst rotation. Obviously talking about Convoke. Reminder, Convoke, they did change our Elder Druid, so it just triggers off of your rake now, so you should be able to get these every single opener. Typically, the openers are going to be either one of two things. Either your teammate has a good CC chain to start, so they're going to just CC the healer immediately, and then you're going to rake Convoke the healer. Alternatively, if let's say you're playing something that does not have a stun, maybe you're playing with a Affliction Lock, and you don't have like a strong opener. What I would typically do there is, let's say this is the DPS over here, this is the healer. So I would rake this way, try to go behind a pillar, clone, shift back over here, and then bash, and then into Convoke. So that's typically the other type of opener I would have. So one of two ways on that. So that's what I would do for those openers. Just some notes with Convoke. Like I talked about earlier, make sure you're trying to isolate one target. This goes for both the Boomy and the Pharaoh one. If you can isolate one target, you're going to get a way more of an impact. If there are multiple targets stacked here, you might bite you might bite this guy, you might bite this guy, and the impact of that Convoke in total will be not as powerful. Also, you have increased chance of being stopped by whatever new, micro CC there is out there. All right. So lastly, let's go over the gameplay section here. Yeah, I totally it's gonna be like a freaking hour-long video, man. The frick. All right, I'm gonna play this one in 1.25 just so it goes a little bit quicker here. So I'm playing with a mage here, versus a lock shaman. Let me clarify this. And this was, this game was like 1800 or something like that. This wasn't the this other team did not combat my playstyle as well as they could have. And I was able to do way more than you might typically be able to do. Let me just clarify that. But this is going to be a perfect world example and something you can strive to do every game. Not every game is going to look like this though, okay? Especially if you're versing something, you know, BM Hunter or something like that. BM Hunters, I lose to BM Hunters like a very large percent of the time. Don't feel discouraged if you can't do this against BM Hunters. But yeah, so we're going to open immediately here. Let me just rewind that really quick. So against locks are just so inherently tanky. I actually typically like just going the healer in that case. So I rake, try to bring myself behind a pillar so he can't interrupt me. This guy, yeah, he could interrupt me a little faster. It wasn't the best coverage, but I immediately went for a rip and then just starting to shred, get my combo points, stun the other guy off, get my dots up on this guy. He didn't need to do that. I just ended up going over a clone, shift over here, get the skull bash and just keep pumping. Shreds, get full combo points, stun him again, throw my star surge, knock that, gonna kill his totem, dispel. Damn, this is hard to commentate when it's at increased speed here. Trying to run out, dodge that cap totem here. Keeping our hots up. Reminder, when you do play this offensive, you want to over hot as much as you can, and then just go in and start doing damage, because the force guarding will maintain these hots the best you can, right? So I can go I was trying to juke him. He wasn't even wanting to kick. Sun DR is about to fall up on this guy. So we're gonna go for a maim. Got our dots up. We're gonna star surge and then re-hot. Okay, I overgrowth my mage. Refresh all my hots. Reminder, the priority is really just keeping up that life loop. That is the most important thing you can do. We're gonna kick this guy, throw a rip on him, go back over to hit this guy, rake him, rip him. So remember what I talked about the priorities as well, because I know you notice I'm not mood firing that much. Did mood fire there, but priorities, those rip and rakes, they're gonna do a lot more damage and way more worth your time, also because they're giving you combo points. Okay, so we're hiding here. What I actually do, I noticed here, so something I did because I have Convoke coming up, and locks cannot interrupt unless their pet's in line, right? If they were playing without pet sack. So I go back over here, I root the pet, he didn't kick it. I just go in here and I can just press Convoke at that point and just kind of kill them there. And yeah, we actually top damage. That's actually insane. So over an Aflock. That was a very, I feel like I could like play that back. That was pretty crazy fast. But that is like a perfect world scenario where I'm just like going. And reminder, when you do play like that, it's going to allow you to keep playing like that. An object in motion tends to stay in motion here, this kind of thing, because you can just apply the pressure. It's just so hard for them to turn it around, and you just keep the stuns going, keep the damage going, play risky, okay? You need to play risky. You have your NS, you have your trinket, don't be scared, just go. I swear that's like the biggest tip I can give you with this overall, is you need to play like you're gonna die, and you don't care if you die. All right, so you need to just go balls to the walls and just do it. People say I get punished for it. Sure, get punished, but keep trying, because a lot of times you might get punished and you'll just survive. You'll just pop an NS and you just keep going. You need to play risky, and this goes for pretty much every healer too. When you're trying to just do as much damage and play aggressive as possible, that's what's gonna happen. High risk, high reward gameplay, right? So that is it on the feral section. Yeah, I'm gonna call it on that because this is getting a little bit crazy long. So that is all we're gonna talk about in the feral section. Let's move over onto the boomy section next. So this is the quote-unquote Resto kit, as I like to call it. So this playstyle is going to be a little bit different in the sense of you're obviously just doing your damage via casted damage versus the melee damage. So in terms of the build here, we are going to be Keeper of the Grove because of obvious things. You get more haste, helps with the casting every time you swift men. So it is even more important to haste on to swift men on cooldown, even if your targets are 100%. Swift men on cooldown. We get 10% wrath damage from here, and then also you do get a short cooldown Convoke, especially in the first one. Not every Convoke if you are using them on cooldown, but you get a 45-second cooldown on that Convoke, which is pretty sweet. And if you want to be crazy, you can even play Dream State and get like a Convoke on a 20-second cooldown and just blaze it on the site the next stun. But anyway, in terms of the class tree, the things that change, I do still run maim, okay? Just because there are niche scenarios where you can get them and win the game. One maim to win the game. I say that shit all the time. Because you have Heart of the Wild, it's very easy just to go for, if you like find a need to have, let's say you have Convoke up, you can actually just go in cap form, swipe a couple times, get ready, save that maim, and then just when you need it, you just pop it and win the game. So, and then the damage talents, I am obviously playing Moonkin form because we need that for the extra 10% damage. We are playing Sorry Conduit still. I was able to play a couple more of the defensive talents because I should probably would rather Verdant Heart over. I think I'd rather Verdant Heart over that. Seems like it's better for me in the way I'm playing. Down here in damage, we want Fluid Form 100% of the time because when we Wrath, it's going to shift us into Moonkin Form, so we can do 10% more damage all the time. Obviously, play the casted damage talent here, and then Lucarious Teaching I think is pretty important to play as well because of the. Oh shit! Hold on, bro. I don't have this. Actually, maybe I didn't play that for a reason. Because you get extra mastery, so it is going to help out with your healing a bit if you are playing this, because you're going to be Moonkin Form quite a lot, and then when you shift out to do healing, you're going to do a little bit more healing. So just a nice plus to have on that. So I would recommend playing Lucarious Teachings as well. Why am I not playing Moonfire? Because I don't think the damage actually is irrelevant at all. You can certainly play it, but I guess, yeah, kind of up to you if you feel like you need it. Maybe I should play it for now. I feel like I like Verdant Heart better than Wellhoned Instincts, because Wellhoned Instincts gets triggered a lot when you don't need it. Like, I might just be able to NS through it. It could be clutch, but it could also be a complete waste. Verdant Heart is always going to be useful, at least, because when your friends are regenning, or Bark's getting, you're getting more healing, and you wouldn't press those two if you didn't need healing in the first place, right? So, yeah. That is it in terms of this tree. For the Spec tree, everything is the same except for the bottom two talents here. So these two talents, I do opt to go for Dream of Cenarius rather than in the other build. I should have explained that. Sorry about that. Because I don't shred that much in cat form. I do a lot of other things besides shred, but when you are playing the Boomy version, you are doing a lot of wrathing, and you get a much higher value off of Dream of Cenarius than you would in cat form. So that's why I play this, and then also Reforestation gives me more tree forms. Well, I don't play tree forms, so it gives me tree forms, and you can spam a crap ton of wraths out on this, and it does really, really good damage. So you could certainly play the same way as you were, but I think I can get a little more damage out from, and a little bit better healing off of doing Dream of Cenarius. But totally up to you if you want to swap that. All right, and then the talents on here, I do stay the same. An optional talent you can do if you're not really comfortable with Tower Pursuit, or you feel like you're not getting good value, because I can see in this build maybe you're sitting back the whole time and you don't get attacked. So like, why do you need Tower Pursuit at that point? Which you probably don't. You can also opt to play Early Spring just to give you that extra boost of healing, because your mana is irrelevant with Shapeshifter, so it really doesn't matter what it costs. So you can just an extra thing to get a little healing. In threes, that's what I was playing. I was playing Early Spring with this build so that I can get more healing out. But just an option for you. All right, in terms of the abilities, not as much to really talk about. I mean, your rotation wise is just going to be pretty simple. Let me talk about Fluid Form really quick. So Fluid Form, this is my recommendation to you is your Moonkin Form. Make the bars the exact same as your healing, and put the damage talents on like a different bar or something like that, so that you can shift out really quick. So what that means is if I press Wrath on this guy, it's going to shift me into Moonkin Form. But if I need to heal, I just press Life Flume, and it shifts me out. Don't have to bother with a cancel form macro on this. I'm just able to shift out instantly without having to worry about anything. So the general rotation is just going to be Wrath and Starsters. About it. And your trees will cast Moonfire for you, so you really don't need to even worry about that. I would also have Starfire Keybound, because there are cases where you're going to get kicked on Wrath, okay? And always be prepared to get kicked on Wrath. So if I'm doing this, let's say I get kicked on this Wrath, and now I'm just going to immediately start casting Starfire. So just something to know. And if you are in this place where you don't want to get kicked because you think you might lose the game, you could just cast Starfire, all right? And when you have this high haste levels, they're both pretty solid. Starfire is still going to do pretty well, and it still heals and does decent damage. So those are your two options on that. But I would just make sure you do have Starfire Keybound as well, because you're going to find good uses for it as well. Yeah. So that is that is kind of the rotation. Nothing really, a lot less complicated in terms of the range damage. Just sit in the back, do damage. But I will say something that is a little bit more in depth in this build is going to be the positioning. Your positioning is going to be a lot more important in this. You want to be constantly positioning yourself to be in the good spot. I'm going to show you the game I have for this. I was getting my butt trained the entire game, and I could not do that much damage, but I tried my best, and you'll see. So I think that's all I need to talk about on this. Yeah, I think we're pretty good. All right, so let me show you this game. So this game was a handful. These are some viewer games. My DK did not do the best helping me out. He tried his best, but it was really difficult. So generally, I want to talk about hold on, before I do this, let me just cover the burst opener, because This is something I do all the time. The openers, I do always open with Convoke, like just as I do it the other way. So this way though, you're probably not going to want, I mean, you can do the same shit. What am I saying? But you want to go Moon Conform first. Okay, reminder, if you do, don't press break and then shift out and Convoke, because then it's gonna heal. So what I typically do is I'll run in, I will rake, shift out as I'm running, and then just start Convoking here. So, and then I'm, you know, at max range already, popping that Convoke and then getting behind a pillar. Yeah, all right, now let's get into the gameplay. So, the opener here, so we get a double opener here. I was trying to help him to go healer. He just would not go the healer this game. So I stun this guy. I try to go for, actually I couldn't even bother. He was already dying. I couldn't do a normal opener there. He trinkets, goes for a chastise immediately into a fear. I'm gonna have to trinket that. Go for a clone just because I want the momentum here. We're gonna clone the rogue just to help with some momentum. I'm gonna pop a Convoke onto this guy. He actually trinkets it. Got some nice damage though there. Bash this guy. Flap. Oh shit, forgot to talk about that. You can use wild charge and then macro flap to it. It's a glyph, and you can get a little bit extra distance to it. So just maintaining my hots, going bear form because I know they're gonna go me. Should be fine. I'm pretty hotted up here. Tried to vortex him away, but couldn't get it. So this is a non-traditional game, like kind of like the Feral one was, where I actually couldn't do a lot of damage at all because I was just getting bucked up the whole game. And I will tell you this right now, it is palpable how much worse. Dude, I was really trying to get him to go healer because this guy's just, the healer's doing damage and we just don't need that. I don't know how I kept him up here. But anyway, it's palpable how much worse Keeper the Grove healing is than Wild Stalker. So just know that it is, like, if you do want to play this playstyle, it's certainly fun and you certainly could do it, but it's definitely not as strong healing wise as Wild Stalker is. So again, just trying to constantly maintain distance. Again, this is why I do play Maim. You will find good opportunities to get those Maims off of. I am just getting smoked all the time here. So just trying to get away, Star Surge, Wrath when I can. Use those instant Wrath procs that you get. I was trying to bait this guy behind the pillar to Convoke him here. So I bait him behind the pillar, get my Convoke going. Lining the priest so it doesn't hit him as well. Leaping out, just trying to kite. Go for a clone here, get Chastise, just trinketing it, give him another clone. It was a very obvious double clone there that he was going to trigger that, but regardless, still got the repeat on there. Gonna Iron Brock my teammate, get some more hots back up here, NS him, juke this kick, gonna clone him low because he has Guardian Spirit on him, and hop back, clone him again, trying to get some distance. So I'm glad I'm showing you this game. This is not typically what it's like. Typically you could just free cast, but I thought, I mean, it's pretty simple to free cast. I wasn't playing Mass Entangle. This was a massive flaw here. I could have just rooted this guy behind the pillar, but I couldn't get it. So I was actually trying to cast roots on him. But it would have been great to just have a root. He went to go grip off. He did do a good job healing. I don't know. I feel bad. But yeah, so we're just getting trained the whole time. This is my tree form proc, spamming a bunch of wraths as you see there. Gives me some extra healing and extends my hots. Go bear form, do a little regen action. Back into Moon Conform. I'm getting screwed here. This is getting really, really difficult to heal. Almost dying, getting purged down. Life Flume, rejuves. Oh my gosh. I end up just convoking and then cancel forming out to just do a couple heals during that convoke. Bear form again, trying to juke, get a clutch juke here so that I can clone the DPS. Holy smokes, this was a rough game. He MDs the clone. I'm still just getting pressed so hard right now. Vortex him on his pull, leap away, make sure I'm still Star Charging on cooldown, finding opportunities. This is what I'm saying about playing risky, man. You're not always going to top yourself off. You got to just keep pumping the dam as much as you can, especially with that Forest Guardian talent. Make sure you are weaving in the Star Surges because it is going to make a pretty nice chunk of healing. Knew he was going to stun me, so I stayed in bear form there. Gonna come out, Star Surge. And I swapped away. I was trying to see if I can get a convoke here. Actually, dude, beautiful convoke here. This had to kill him, right? And then, jeez, we knocked down the kill. So this was a great example of not a smooth game like the other game was, and how it is going to be tricky. But sometimes it just takes that one convoke to win the game. This is an example of what it's most likely not going to always be like, but what it could be like. So people say like, oh, you just got a lucky gamer here and there, but yes, sometimes that happens, but you could still make it work, even if you're getting trained and all these things. Just make sure you are being aware of keeping those hots up all the time. Okay, so that was that game. Close that out. Lastly, I wanted to just talk about, well, two things I want to talk about. Talk about Cyclone. So Cyclone is obviously super important, but please, you need to know how to Cyclone offensively, I guess you'll call it. So cycloning enemy cooldowns. This is something that's going to be super crucial, especially if you end up playing haste first with the lacking mastery. Cyclone is essentially a healing cooldown sometimes, or a defensive cooldown to help with your healing, right? So if they, that rogue pops adrenaline rush on me, finding an opportunity to maybe juke a kick and then clone him is going to save me a buttload of healing, because I'm able to just stop damage altogether. I could dispel his MS maybe, and then just go behind a pillar and top myself back off, stop a ton of damage via that way. Secondly, cloning big cooldowns is just going to help, or sorry, defensives. So like that game you saw, he Guardian Spirited his rogue, and he's going to take more healing. So I want to try to clone those opportunities. So make sure you are really, really emphasizing those cyclones. If you are playing certain comps, which I'm going to talk about comps in just a second here, but playing with a mage specifically or a hunter specifically, you do want to make sure that you are. I'm actually going to pull this up from my old video. I just thinking about this here. You want to make sure you are cycloning constantly, and Cyclone is also just a DR extender. So let's say you cyclone the healer and you poly the healer, he's on DR for both. Your next option, your immediate option after that, should end up being, let's see if you can see here, your next thing that you should be thinking about is cloning DPS to delay the DR on the healer so that you can CC him again. All right. So I'm not gonna rewrite these because did I show the whole thing here? Sorry, just give me one moment. Okay. So this is from one of my other videos that I made. I made like a super comprehensive guide on here. So there's different comps that you can play, right? And the comps that you play are going to dictate how you play, all right? So when it comes to, this is how I categorize it, your passive comps. So these are comps you're going to be more relatively passive. I know this is the DPS guide. This would mean that a lot of the times you can just play the Resto form. Or the Resto build, and just stay in the back, make sure your teammates hot it up, and then just start pumping damage, because they can do enough pressure themselves. You don't need the stun. They might not need your stuns and whatnot. And yeah, you can just sit in the back and just live and do damage, right? The flex position is going to be more the stun heavy classes, so Rogue, Feral. Reason I put them as a flex between aggressive and NCC, I guess you want to call it, is that they are going to be doing a lot of the stunning for you. So you don't need to be in there doing crazy stuns. I would recommend playing the Moonkin stuff with those two classes as well. There are cases, if you can do enough damage and bleed pressure like that it is actually still good to play the cat form stuff. But in general, it's probably going to be easier for you to just complement their stuns. Rogue kidney shots the healer, you clone off, he cheap shots the DPS, and then you convoke and pump him, right? So that kind of stuff is probably a little more easier to do that kind of stuff. When it comes to the aggressive playstyle, these are going to be your casters, where you're going to be wanting doing as much pressure, maiming on cooldown specifically. So you're doing tons and tons of maims and just bleeding and doing all the damage possible. Hold on one second. And just doing as much as you can aggressively to apply pressure, because you playing in will help your DPS and caster be able to just pump a lot more because of that. So, and then finally, the CC heavy comps, Mage and Hunter, like I just talked about, you're doing cloning. Okay, a lot of clones, a lot of stuns. Your damage isn't as important in those comps. It's more about just sustain CC, constant CC. I put in Ellie and Rhett into this category as well, because you can, and I recommend you should, play the same way with those classes as you do with the Mage, because Ellie has a relatively short cooldown hex. Obviously you can't do it as often as Poly, but rotating hexes with clones on the healer, and then same with Rets, you can play Repentance and rep the healer, and then go, or Hodge rep the healer, and then the Druid can stun the DPS and convoke or whatever, or vice versa, you can stun clone and then he could rep off, stuff like that. Just constantly using those DRs to do some crazy shit. So I recommend, if you do play play with those kind of classes, that's what you should do. All right, I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. We got the comps, we got the Cyclone, we got the builds. That is going to be it. Holy smokes, 45 minutes of talking, but I hope y'all learned something from here. I'm sure you did. Use the timestamps. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Please like the videos. Took a lot of my time and my voice, but and I'll see y'all in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out.